there's two things that you said that really struck me, and they kind of, for me, they kind of work together. One was this concept in America that we have that marriage is a contract as opposed to a covenant.
Yes.
And I think that's not understood by most people.
No.
And the second was, when you were talking about, as young people, as they begin dating, having any idea what they're dating. So it seems like, there just seems to be such a lack of education, of the youth as they're in that formative process trying to figure out what they're doing, because they don't understand what marriage is. There's a person to understand what marriage is. Okay, so, where can we, what can we do to save this next generation? Because I see this, this is being repeated over and over and over again.
And it's getting worse.
And as the culture continues, to beat away at the family and the marriage, it seems like a push needs to be much more strong on our part to educate the young so that they, can understand what marriage is, so they know what they're looking for, understand that it's a covenant, because they come into this marriage thinking it's a contract, and if things don't go my way, I'm out of here. It's very simple.
Well, that's a tough one, and I agree that this is necessary to happen. And there's a number of things we need to do. First of all, as parents and grandparents, we got to do our job. Okay? You can't expect the clergy to be able to do it all, because frankly, we can't. So, first thing is, we have to get to the parents and grandparents and say, okay, do you talk to your kids? Do you talk to your grandchildren? Do you say, you're doing this stuff, why? What's your goal? You're going to college, theoretically, to educate yourself so that you can be a more complete person, and through that, to learn skills to keep yourself employed and gainfully going forward. Okay? That's your goal. What's your goal in doing this? You had a goal when you learn to drive. So you'd have these skills, and you'd be able to drive around, and you'd be able to get yourself a job, and have all these things that you had in mind, and you knew the process that you were doing yourself in. And that was your goal. What's your process there? Why are you doing this? What's your goal? We don't ask the question. We don't think about it. I will tell you that my eldest son, my only son, my second son passed away in infancy. So I have one son surviving, he's 23. My daughter is 19. Since they were about 4 or 5 years old, we've talked to them about what the purpose of dating is. Both of them have dated very little, because there are certain things that they're looking for that they know that the person's going to have before they'll even consider doing it. Consider dating if they don't have the certain criteria that they've set up of what they're looking at a spouse, they're not going to go further. When my wife and I started dating, my wife came from a UCC background, United Church of Christ. She had gone to a Missouri Synod Lutheran school, graduated in 4 years with a degree in biology, a degree in chemistry, and a degree in theology. 4 years. Yes, she's a scary lady. And she's a physician. Doesn't mean to make this point, okay. Much smarter than I, by a long degree. At any rate, when we started, dating, one of the first things, one of the first or second dates, we sat down and said, okay, my expectations is I am going to be in a Catholic marriage. Nothing else will work. If we can't do that, I like you, I've enjoyed my time with you, but we have to end this. Because, I'll be wasting your time. Because this is a deal breaker. This is an absolute foundation of what my life is going to be. If that's not comfortable with you, then we part happily. Well, we didn't. And, 25 years of marriage later and 2 children, and here we are. But most of us don't think through. We drift. That's dangerous. Captain of the ship can't drift. You have to go. Otherwise you're on the rocks. And it's no different in marriage. If you don't have a clear goal on what you're trying to do with your life, or what you're trying to do with your marriage, or what you're trying to do in your own spiritual life, you are headed for the rocks. And Satan's waiting for you. Because as soon as you start drifting, he's there to take you completely off course. My dad was in the Navy. Is it show? You know, but it's true. And you have to think about it from that point of view, is that we have a tendency to allow the culture to let us drift. We can't let it happen. Because if it does, we know what the result's going to be. And it means, what can we do? Well, the other thing is, well, get people, invite them to the presentations, invite them to these things. Just let them know this doesn't have to be boring. You know, this is an opportunity for them to have a meaningful and enjoyable and truly happy relationship. A Christian marriage is a happy marriage. It has all the fun that the other type has, but it has a core, a reality, a strength that fun doesn't have. It's the difference between cotton candy and an apple. Okay? Cotton candy is not sweet. It's very pretty, it's pink, and it's fluffy. And there's nothing there. The other one is something that was created by God to begin with, and has reality and strength, and all the goodness and all the richness and all the sweetness, and everything else is there, plus so much more. That's the difference between what we're looking at. Unfortunately, cotton candy is very pretty and pink and has a lot of advertisements going for it. And that's where our society is pushing real hard. They're not pushing what we know will help us grow. We have to invite them. I'll ask you another question, and this relates with what Father Jerome brought up earlier. How many of you, when there's a really good new restaurant, do you let your friends know about it? And invite them to it. Say, you know, this is really great. I love the cuisine there. It was a lot of fun. How many of you have invited anybody to church? This is the source of our life. This is where God was reaching out to us, giving us His grace through His pure body and blood, soul and divinity, which He gives you through communion. This is the opportunity to have a friend of yours, someone you care about, grow and get to heaven. We'll invite them to a restaurant. We'll tell them about a movie. We'll tell them about whatever show we went to. We'll tell them about our vacations. But we won't invite them to know God. And they say no. Okay, that's fine. You didn't hold me at gunpoint. You know, I'm not suggesting kidnapping here, but we have an enormous gift given to us. Whether you're part of the Latin Church, whether you're part of the Eastern Church, God is giving us this enormous gift. Why wouldn't you offer it to the people around you? When you'll do it for every other lesser thing in your life.